All right, that's recording. Let's actually go tell people that we're actually streaming. Copy feeds at patron boarding member. I've not recording. There we go. A thread. Oh. Switch account. Tab. We want that. Pop out chat. Oh, Gray Fox. Ooh, I need a little more water. Oh, yeah. Matt also has no power. Evie, I swear, all I saw was the emojis, and I started to have a panic attack. Evie, hate you. No idea, David Clausen. There was some guy who joined. I saw it in the general. CNR 2019. I don't know who CNR 2019 is. Yeah, it might be. I don't know who uses those, Evie. 8-year-olds. 8-year-olds use those, and people who are mentally unstable use those emojis. That's who uses those. Someone asked me, Walt Gray Fox. So he's doing better. I was very happy. I got him this new digestive friendly food, and he was eating it. Didn't have to mix anything with it. And tonight, or rather today, actually, the whole day he has refused to eat it. And I went and ran errands and came home. I did this whole thing, Ray, where I was like, listen, this is your next meal, Wallace. Whether you eat it for dinner or not, it's your next meal. And when I came home from running errands, it was in the corner, tipped over. I'm like, okay. Guess that answers that. So,
oh man. I mean, normally when your parents feed you something that's terrible, you give it to the dog. But then in this case, he's got no one to give that stuff to.
So he had a big day yesterday. He got left alone. I went downtown. We went and watched Asami and Lilia do the dance thing at the Asian Fest. We went out to eat. In between going out to eat, I went and let Wallace out. And then we went out to eat. And then we all came back to my place. And he was surrounded by people and kids. And he was running around and having a good time. And he spent the whole day today sleeping. So half of me was like, all right, you're being a little picky, but also you might just be exhausted. He also usually poops when we wake up. Usually he poops, eats breakfast. 3 hours later, he's pooping again. He did not poop until 8 p.m. tonight. He would not poop.
Yeah.
And I don't know if half of that was just because he wasn't eating breakfast. But he's just had a little bit of an off day anyways. We'll see how he does tomorrow.
Well, any change to his routine, I guess he's very sensitive to.
Which is kind of why I'm wondering this year I might not take him with for Dirty Deeds. I might see if Eric wants to dog sit. So. And then maybe he can hang here and he'll have a slightly different routine, but it'll be, not 6 hours in the truck and left alone in the hotel room for hours on end kind of thing.
Right.
Might just be a little nicer.
Yeah, just have him hang out in Eric's house. Right?
So, just enough,
that might be
enough simple.
Yeah, that might be another way. I mean, just let him hang out inside of Eric's house.
Looks like DeMay will be here in a few minutes. Yeah. So if you just join the stream, Matt does not have power, so probably won't have Matt tonight. Yeah, Telly.
Yeah, I mean, if KUB is on his road, that does not bode well.
Yeah. At least it's not like 100 degrees right now. It's, just under 80. The sun's, set, so it's dark, and that helps a bit. But
helps
still,
it
can get hot quick.
And he said that he could see where there's like a wire askew.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't help but notice how far away all the trees are from the power lines.
Yeah. It just depends. Around my area here, there's actually a lot of trees around the power lines, and they come through at least once a year and have to trim them back. I'm like, you should just take them down. So.
Well, let's see. I mean, I always say that in that instance, the trees are best not there instead of having to give them an ugly trim job.
And then worry like, oh, all it's going to take is a terrible storm and, then we got problems.
Well, the ugly trim job often causes weak branches that will fall down when you have a storm. I mean, I found that out one morning when, I was wondering why I was stuck in traffic that went back for miles, and come to find out, a tree dropped at them right across the highway. Only in Hawaii.
That'll do it.
Only in Hawaii.
How is with everything there? How is are people freaking out around you or no?
Hey, they're freaking out, but then thinking about the wrong bullshit.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Kind of I mean, like, it's not necessarily unique by any means to Hawaii. It was interesting today. So yesterday, on the way to go eat, I saw this
Mm.
homeless guy without shoes on, standing on the side of the
Mhm.
highway. And today, he definitely had shoes on as he walked up to
Yeah.
his spot. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought about Hawaii, and I wondered how easy it would be for people to try and take extra advantage of a situation like that in Hawaii, because you always talk so fondly about the people that live there, Ray. I'm sure nobody tries to take advantage of those situations.
Well, what do you mean by take advantage of the situation?
Maybe get some sort of additional financial help that they don't need. Maybe, oh yeah, definitely I was affected by the fires, when really they didn't have any property that burnt. Sorry, I'm trying to log in with this randomly generated password into the Notion.
No worries. Fact of the matter is that thanks to the overdeveloped bureaucracy, it's pretty tough to scam anything from the local government. It's hard.
Actually,
You have an easier time scamming the federal government, actually.
Interesting. They do a
Yeah.
decent job of verifying.
More than decent. More than decent. Any application for anything can get tied up for months, if not years.
So we're doing a
Well,
password reset here.
Well, every single line item gets checked and double checked.
Yeah, years would be the annoying part of that part.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, that is why it is neither economical nor inexpensive to get anything built in Hawaii.
Okay, let's try this again. See if I can log in now. Okay, now let's actually add this to the Notion. There we go. That was a lot of work to just click a button,
Logged in.
basically. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no, Notion's updating. What'd you do today, Ray? What was the big thing?
Nothing really.
It's good.
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, today wasn't a work day, that's for sure.
Ray had the day off.
Yes.
Good. Did Evie, did you ever get your whoop figured out? Or is he still struggling with that?
I think he's going to have to let it go down to 0, totally reset it, and then try powering it back up once it's gone to 0.
Basically, turn it off and turn it back on again.
Well, let it go to like nothing. Complete total shutdown.
Tell you haven't saved your document in 2 hours. That's your own fault. Losing a lot of GDD every day last week. Yeah, no kidding, Telly. Come on, Chaley. An electrical dam caught fire here last week. Half of Ludlow lost power. Hey, Bee Butcher.
Mhm.
Kelly didn't save his document because he was too busy making babies.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, Evie, I have not had any problems with my Whoop, and like, I haven't necessarily been super gentle with it. Definitely took it to like water park and didn't try to hold it out of the water or anything. Let it, and I didn't buy the fancy band that covers it, you know, when you're in water and stuff. So, mine hasn't had problem with chlorine, showering, nothing. What were you gonna say, Ray?
Actually, mine, neither has mine because, sorry, if I'm adjusting someone's sprinkler head and it splashes on my wrist, tough shit.
Yeah.
Tough shit. Too bad. And it hasn't malfunctioned from that.
So, what are we doing tonight? Are we doing questions or are we doing articles? We're doing
Whatever you want to do. I did throw a couple articles in the Notion if you wanted to do like, you want to do a speed run through it, maybe double up on some Jono's turf. I'm down for whatever.
How did our I never really looked and saw. How did our Jono's turf centric thing go?
People seem to like it. Let me double check something though. I think I trimmed off the pre-show, post-show. I upload it. Thought I uploaded it.
Is that
Every time I go to the YouTube, it's look at this body cam footage of someone dying. Let me go look.
Yeah, let me look too.
I think the last one I actually uploaded was. Let me upload that number 80 because we've got the lawn pods I see, but I don't see 80. So,
80's there, isn't it? It's under lives,
which would be the live recording. How do we have to? Oh yeah, you know what? We did the 80 live just because that's what it was. I made that public just because we went public with it. Period. We didn't really have a pre-show, post-show on it. So I guess yeah, they're all up there. So they good, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't hear people get mad about it.
Good. Let me see here. Go in Notion.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever.
Okay. Let's see. Boh.
Jesse said do only burns.
Oh, Jesus. Let me see here.
Evie, maybe you worked the Whoop too hard at 1 a.m. Just saying. It couldn't calibrate. Go on, grass thief.
Where? Fuck. So let me send this one. Copy link. Send. Send these all in here to you, J Pink.
Okay.
There's another one here. I want to get. Shorts. Oh.
You want to do just those turf segments tonight?
You can do a little extra Jono's turf, and then I don't know. I'm just feeling questions tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Maybe
not
a little
good
bit of
articles
everything
in there, and I haven't been like hunting. I've really been hunting.
Yeah.
Let's see. For articles, I did a few here. 2 articles I put in the last 7 days. Pretty weak sauce for me. Usually it's like 12 or more.
Weird. It's like you've been busy with like work and stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I've got a couple of mailbags here too. I've got one from J Farm that I wanted to answer on the show. I'll send that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Ray, you might have already seen that one from Jeremy there with his.
Oh no,
post.
I haven't. But then this would be like my first time seeing it, and lots to unpack there. Because there's so much to unpack, I might as well look at on his original posting and see what it is.
Grass Thief says his Tahoma is bouncing back already.
Nice.
Javing, I'm going to send you this one here. If you can do a little redaction on the name so you don't have a Spencer incident. And then maybe just some... what is going on? Some cropping.
Yeah, I can do that.
There we go. What I really need to do is get back to my days of watching Ron Henry flying through the questions to find some dumb answers. Jesus Christ. I just pulled up this video from Friday. He went for 4 hours and 8 minutes. God.
Shit.
Well, inflation's a bitch. Gotta sell more products.
Is he trying to be Seinfeld, the show about nothing?
Get this.
Oh boy.
I haven't seen that, Jesse. Shit pile of sod LCN had in the screenshot in the Discord.
Copy at current time. Oh, right. You're going to really like this one.
Don't be a pervert, Brent.
Too late. What the fuck?
Okay.
It's going to just be a whole Ron show. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. I love doing this. There's just...
He's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't he?
I like this guy. There's, I'm supposed to be like the straight man on the show and like, be show deference or whatever. But this guy can't.
Well, Ryan, I know you have your buttons, and I think Ron found yours. He just found it.
Baby, you think a little too small. I got big goals, baby. Ain't where the money at. Look, I just need the info. Pronto, I go and get it and split it with my kinfolk. Baby, and I'm the type of that might change my number on you.
What the fuck?
That's how you react when people took a slumber on you. Pretty brown skin, baby. I can see the summer on you. You see all the bread, and I know it make you.
What is today? Yeah.
I ain't surprised at all. Seen them rise and fall. Went up the mountain, it wasn't hard to climb.
Ray, you got plans for Labor Day weekend?
Sorry.
Not really. Stay home.
Good plan.
Yep.
Haley said, okay, so you said Ron went for 4 hours and 8 minutes. Brent said something. Where did he say? What did he say?
He
In my
said he was
20s, I
good
could
for-
go 4 hours and 8 minutes. And Shaylee said, in my youth, it took me 4 hours to convince them and 8 minutes to finish.
Oh, that is sad. Sad.
Copy. Wait, copy time of current.
Brent, I'm surprised Ron Henry hasn't banned you from commenting.
I haven't commented. I'm not going to give that motherfucker my money.
Mm-hmm.
You may have some
I mean, he's finding all the time codes.
Mm. Yup.
Oh boy, this would be a good one.
Oh, it's an interesting endeavor. How to stripe a mixed 419 and Arden 15 lawn. Yep, Jesse. Maui's on fire, and there's also a brush fire going on Oahu. You know what, Jesse? We're all gonna die.
Oh lordy. Now there's some gold. Wait. All right, JPing, I'm going to send this one just to you. There's some audio that's about 10 seconds before this. Watch it and clip it out. It's perfect. That timestamp. Roll back about 10 minutes. You'll hear what I'm talking about. We can play it during the show.
Okay. You said about 10 seconds back from that timestamp?
10, 15 seconds, yeah. Talking about friends.
May.
It's so good. And it's clean.
I like the smell.
I gotta make a shortcut so I can hit that faster.
All right. I don't know. The ones I got out were pretty good. I feel good
You
about
are
it.
a fucking pussy.
See how steamy it is?
I like the smell.
You have to bring the Roadcaster and your PC to
Louisville?
Louisville for sure, or at least just files. Like put them. Maybe we should just make like a You know what we need? We need
a soundboard, like a web-based soundboard.
Web-based soundboard or a remember the South Park album that came out like 25 years ago? What was it? Shit. South Park album. Okay, that's it. Alright, let me see if I can find it on Spotify. 'Cause I can't remember the track. How the fuck's this at? Dude.
I like the smell. I like the smell. I like the smell.
Hey,
I
that
can't
works.
find it. South Park. Mentally dull, that's what it was. I think. Let's see if I can find it on YouTube. This is- So there's this. I'm gonna put this in Dirty Deeds. I'll put this on the show thread. It makes me think that we need to have a what the fuck's this at? So it made me think of this song, which is just like a mashup where they have a techno beat behind it and then they just cut in a whole bunch of sounds from the show.
I have no
believe
idea
it's
what you're
25.
talking about.
I just put it in the show thread. Put it in the show thread. South Park thing. South Park came out with like a soundtrack album in
Mentally Dull?
1998. Yes. Anyway, listen to that. Think about it with a bunch of the Grass Factor shit behind it. All right. It's got like Cartman talking behind it. I haven't listened to this song in 20 fucking years at least.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you ain't Fiona Apple. If you ain't Fiona Apple, I don't give a rat's ass.
Make me some pie. What the hell would you know, you fat?
See,
I'll have to listen to that.
we need to get the Fiverr audio engineer behind that, or let Aldo do it. Aldo could probably take all that and make something pretty nice.
He's too busy ignoring us. He
He
hates
is, all right. He does. Okay, so here's what I propose. Let's do. How many people we got on here right now?
I'm not sure. What's your vision?
I'm just thinking if we do members only questions, I think we can keep the chat rolling with some more advanced, 303 level topics and questions instead of 101s, which is fine. Almost like I want this to be. Here's what I want it to be: is more like questions that we would get in a Zoom that we can, expound on a little bit, but not go like way off on the fucking deep end, and entertain some of that talk more so than, hey, my turf type Pelfast doesn't look good. What should I do? Punt. That's what you should do. Send the fucking punt team out there and kick the ball down the field. Fuck off. Nothing against those people, but I think that's what we do. Let's do advanced questions. We'll do an extended cut of Ron Henry Jono's turf, and then we'll dive back into questions. So we'll do let's do it this way. We'll do the 2 mailbag questions first, We'll do Joe Knows Turf, and then that'll let everybody some time to think about thoughtful and intentional turf questions that are beyond a fundamental or elementary level. Because I think the two questions we have are good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay. All right, I'm gonna go pee real quick, and then let's do
Go
it.
pee.
Mm-hmm.
Fix this other camera angle real fast. The other one once DeMay comes back. I think it's good, but I'll just double check it. Let me check
Mm-hmm.
this after we do intro. Over to Ryan.
All right, here we go.
All right.
We'll do this.
Mhm.
And you're all good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty.
All right.
As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and well, whatever you feel like you are tonight or whenever you listen to this, welcome. It's Burn and Return time. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm here with Ray. Matt has no power tonight. No electricity, Ray.
Oop.
It's hard to run a podcast.
Oops.
It's hard to run a PC and do any of those normal things that you like to do, except for what Matt was doing last Thursday. And if you tuned into our live Thirsty Thursday, you know that Matt started off the show. He was washing his balls. So you can still do that without power, Ray. And good enough because, got to have clean balls. So how the hell are you tonight, Ray?
I'm good. I'm good, Ryan.
That's
Super good.
fantastic. So tonight we're going to dive in a little bit, a little bit different for Burn and Return. No articles tonight because we haven't spent a whole lot of time with our patrons and with our members on YouTube. So we wanted to dive deeper a little bit into some of their questions and maybe some more advanced topics because Ray, we don't take only the easy ones. We take the hard ones too. And especially if you're
Yes.
Sheila. Yeah, she only takes hard ones. So, so we're going to start off here. That was a good one. Come on. I set that up pretty good. All right. Let's start off with a couple of mail bags that we have. We have any mail?
You've got mail.
We do. All right.
Yes, we do.
Let me go ahead and read this one here. I don't know if it's going to go up on the screen or not because we didn't rehearse any of this, folks. None of it. It's okay. All right. So
I've been unscripted. Yeah.
Jeremy says, I'm hoping you guys will help clear up this unanswered question for me. I wanted to provide a few more details regarding my fungicide regimen that was discussed on my call-in a couple weeks ago. I've attached pictures from a couple of years ago for reference. These spots started showing in early August of that year. I got larger and I lost turf in those spots. I never felt like I had a positive ID on the fungus if that was in fact what I was dealing with. It definitely seemed like a soil borne issue though. Plants would rot at the stolen, see attached pic. Perhaps on a related or unrelated note, I had a healthy mole cricket population that year that have since kept under control. Also, for what it's worth, here is my TLF thread about the issue. Okay. So a lot to go on here, and Ray, I can't remember which guy this was that called it. Do you remember off the top of your head?
I think I do. I remember, and Ryan, this to me looks like classic co-infection.
Okay.
And when I say co-infection, Jeremy might well be dealing with dual issues, and what he thinks are diseases are actually a secondary issue. Because
Really?
in the case of Zoysia, primary issue becomes nematodes.
Mm.
That becomes primary. And if you have a latent nematode issue, then that makes whatever Pisium, large patch, etc., that you happen to be dealing with, that much more severe and likely to happen. I mean, this is why, this is kind of why it grinds my gears when people are sold Zoysia under the promise that it is a hardy and disease-resistant grass. Nothing could be further from the truth, especially if you are in
have their words
in the tropics or south. So
I think
at this point,
at this point, what's the game plan here, Ray?
Okay, if I were going to be throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks, I'd probably advise Jeremy to consider treating his turfgrass with something like Exteris.
Okay.
And Exteris specifically, because, Ryan, I saw the magic of Exteris many years ago when I started incorporating that into my Zoysia treatment program. The turf areas that were constantly disease prone and always looking bad made a spectacular turnaround. And these are the same turf areas that I had on that ridiculous fungicide program that included combinations of, say, Lexicon plus Aliette, for example. Or ProStar Eagle 20 EW plus Aliette.
Those of you scoring at home, that's not your regular pricing game prize. Those are Showcase Showdown prizes. Okay, very expensive. So if you do want to go for there, Jeremy, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah. But what my point is that I wasted a lot of time and money and capital with clientele on those fungicide programs until I started incorporating Exteris into the program.
And I think it's a fine fungicide. It's a good thing to have around too. Like, there's never a time where you're not going to use it. I think it's a super useful tool, especially at the residential level. Like, if you're in cool season or warm season, I think it's an excellent product to have around. We don't even get paid to say this, right? We don't have a website of highly curated bullshit to sell with that product in it.
No,
but here we are saying
no, we don't. No, we don't.
Go figure.
It's and the reason why it's valuable is that as of year 2000, I can't think of any product readily accessible to a consumer or otherwise labeled for application to a residential lawn that will have the effect of reducing nematode populations. I can't think of a product like that. So
another added benefit.
Yeah, it's another added benefit because pre-2000, response to a nematode issue would include organophosphate drenches.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, that with good reason, has been withdrawn from the market. And uh, I still remember my near-death experience from 8 ounces per 1,000 square foot of diazinon 4E. Yeah, I mean, there's enough chemical in that sprayer to have killed me many times over. So I just, I would just probably say next step looking at this zoysia grass in that condition is I would give serious consideration to trying an application of Exteris. That's
There we go.
that's where I'd go
Jeremy?
with it.
Godspeed, Jeremy. That's all we can say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Jumping over to our good friend Jordan F. J Farm. He says
Yeah.
this was right this to me last night, and I wanted to answer him to give him more
Mhm.
context than I could type out. So he says, "Evening, sir. I'm getting slightly concerned about my renovation timing this year. It's getting late in the year, and temps are still crazy high. I was going to shoot for next weekend, but the week after is going to be nearly 100 degrees every day. Our first frost date is typically around October 15th. Do I just have to send it and hope for the best? I have no mefenoxam before you ask." Okay, so for those of you at home, J Farm is in the Kansas City area, so it's been extremely hot. It's been a really tough summer there, I think, growth wise. So this is a renovation he's had planned out for better part of a year. So it's not like he's
Mhm.
had that tough of a year and it's just crapped out. He's got nothing. So I think that's why he's probably questioning it. It's like, hey, what I've got here is good enough, but I'd like to have something better. But is it worth all the time, energy, effort, cost, everything like that to put seed in the ground, prep for seed, put seed in the ground, and then have the weather just, bash it and make it all not do anything? Um,
Yeah.
I here's my thought is, and Ray, you can offer up some thoughts here too, because obviously, it's the other way with you, right? You're talking about warm season and potentially timing it at a time when it might be too cold, right? And what do you do
Too
then? So
cold, not enough sun. I mean, yeah.
so I'm gonna go at it from my end with cool season and it being too hot, and then I want to hear from your side because this could be something that people face in the future too.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I would say this is that you can only do what the weather gives you, and you can only put so many risk mitigation strategies in place before you have to say, okay, that's too much, or the likelihood of failure is so high that it's just not worth it. Now, if he gets to next week, I wouldn't just scrap the plan right now. I mean, I'd wait until, we get to the week of and see what the weather's like and see what the forecast looks like and make a call then. Um, all that being said, 100-degree temperatures, that makes me nervous. 90-degree temperatures, not so much. 80-degree temperatures, obviously, we're in the driver's seat. So when it comes to cool season grass, I'd look at that strata of hundreds a no-go, 90s okay, 80s perfect, right? So use that as your guidepost, J Farm. The other thing I'd look at too is nighttime lows. If we've got nighttime lows that are, up above, say 70 degrees, especially 75, that's concerning to me too. So I don't know, and I haven't looked at your forecast closely enough to know if this is, a dry heat that you can just keep pumping water to it and it's just going to be high soil temperatures, or if this is really hot and wet together, that could be a problem, especially, with new seedlings coming up and no mefenoxam, right? That's really your only line
Mhm.
of defense. Phosphites are basically worthless on seed just because they're a little too tough on new seedlings. So all that to be said is, even if you do go late, even if let's just say you have to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, and still seed. First frost doesn't freak me out so much. I mean, there's ways that you can manipulate that and mess around with it to keep the frost off there and kind of keep things going a little bit. And really, at that time, I think soil temperature is more important than just a frost, right? If you get a freeze, if you go below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, that's a concern for sure. And I don't think that you'll get there, but who knows? Midwestern weather can be kind of crazy. But the last part that I'll say there is if you go late, and let's just say that you have some areas that are coming in pretty well and some areas that aren't, or maybe just across the board, density is not where you want it to be. You can always overseed in the spring, you know, early on,
Mhm.
come out there in February, January, even do like an early dormant seed or a late dormant seed, I should say, early spring seeding. Gets that stuff to come up, thicken it up, and then don't worry about pre-emergent. spray out and post anything that you get summer annual wise and live to fight another day. So it's possible. It just might not be the same trajectory and same milestones that you're used to hitting on a typical fall overseeding. So that's my piece. Ray, thoughts on
Yeah.
J farm situation, or if somebody was in a warm season situation like this, maybe they're in Florida and they're throwing down pallets of dirt that are masked to look like sod, and putting videos of YouTube. I don't know. What do you think about all that?
Well, I mean, I'm going to speak to our friend J Farm and tell him that best thing you can do is not get hung up on a calendar date so much as pay attention to actual conditions and try to align your plans as best as possible with the conditions. So if that means waiting a little and putting your seed down when the temperatures come back down from the hundreds, then so be it. And I kind of likewise like the idea of, if needed, you can always do some further overseeding in the spring. And the reason why you can is because you have good options for managing it the following spring. I mean, it's not like we're in the 18th century anymore. I mean, we have ways to deal with that and grow that in without any kind of trauma. And as far as our guys in the warm season area, again, if up to me, you work with the conditions that you have, and if it means you bring in your sod or your material the following late spring, early summer, so be it, because there is no law that says you can't use green paint or even some ryegrass as the placeholder until conditions improve. You know?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is managing expectations such that you don't have, like I just said at the end of my answer there too, and I think Ray is echoing the same thing, that the typical path or trajectory or milestones, whatever you want to call it, of a renovation sometimes don't line up with what the weather's giving you, with what supply chain. There's all sorts of things, but uh, the question always comes down to, with any project, any renovation, I don't care if it's somebody's lawn or a professional stadium, anything in between, is in my mind is what risk mitigation strategies are you willing to put in place? Are you willing to, hand water? Do you want to spray fungicide on it? You're willing to go out there and spray different products or turn on irrigation so that frost doesn't set at 5 o'clock in the morning before dawn? Things like that. Those are all strategies you can do and employ. But is that too much, right? And some people are crazier than others, and you just kind of have to figure out how crazy you really are. So there we have it. I don't know, J-Pink, how did that smell?
I like the smell.
Oli likes it. Oli liked it. So
Yeah.
thanks, Oli, for endorsing that.
Yeah.
And appreciate that. So,
Mhm.
okay. J-Pink, it's time for everybody's favorite time of the week. It's Joe Knows Turf.
Joe knows turf. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because Joe knows turf.
Now, listen, as I've mentioned all along since we started doing this, this was built as a crowdsourced initiative of finding things and whatnot. And we try not to pick on any one person too much, but when somebody, Ray, it reminds me of this, right? Really, really good football coach once that ran the same 8 plays, scored a touchdown. They kick the ball, they play defense, 3 and out, they get the ball back, they score again, running the same play 6 more times in a row. And the coach calls the offensive coordinator and he says, "Are you going to run a different play or not?" And he says, "Hey, when they stop it, we'll run a different play." So with that, Ron Henry will be joining us tonight on the program. But first, before we get to him, I do want to show this Facebook post that was shared with us. And Ray, I had to cringe at this. All right, for those of you on audio here, this is a gentleman in some professional lawn care group. I was trying to kill grass and weeds and everything around a fenced-in area for a daycare. I told the lady I can guarantee it all dead if I spray it with diesel fuel, and is it okay if I do? She asked me if it's kid safe, and I said yes once it dries. I told her anything you spray isn't safe in liquid form. So is diesel fuel safe once sprayed and it dries? Okay,
What
Ray.
the fuck? Sorry, right? No, what the fuck?
It takes.
And-
Listen, I just want to. I want to tell people something here. I have spent literally hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 hours of my life talking to Ray, both in a formal setting like this and an informal setting, and I can say it really takes a lot to tip him all the way to tilt to be like, man, that's fucked up. But Ray, go ahead and tell me what you think of old Broseph here.
Okay, this is a sensitive subject to me because water supply on Oahu is contaminated with fuel oil. And so, Broseph here, what does he think is going to happen to the diesel fuel that he sprays on these weeds? Where the hell does he think it's going to go? I'll tell you where it's going to go. That fuel oil is going to go straight into the ground and into the groundwater. I mean, so Ryan, let me ask you this.
Please.
How do you like your diesel? Do you like your diesel number one winterized? Do you like yours red diesel for tractors, or do you like the green diesel for on-road vehicles? I mean, which one do you like? I mean, taste-wise.
I'm an off-highway guy myself. The red,
Yeah.
you know, that reminds me of the Ace Ventura line. You know, New England
Mhm.
clam chowder. Is that the red or the white? Never remember that.
Right,
So anyway,
right.
yeah. So
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I
because-
think
Here's the thing, is that this is just such bad, thinking, because I do have to, go back to like my old time friends in the business telling me about what they actually used to use for weed control. And one of the materials that they mentioned was this product called weed oil, Ryan. And
Okay.
what weed oil was a petroleum distillate very similar in consistency to kerosene. And what the property of this weed oil was is that you could spray it on vegetation and it would immediately destroy the leaf tissue on these weeds. Via its solvent properties. But Broseph here is basically taking us back to the 1930s, where that's the only herbicide they really have other than arsenic. So, I mean,
here's the problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, my
Go ahead.
final advice is, why doesn't he leave the weed control to somebody that actually knows what they're doing? Because
Yeah,
it's obvious
I-
if he's diesel on the ground, I don't think somebody knows what they're doing.
These are the ones that when they show up, you have to wonder if these people are serious, if this is a meme, and then you read them a little bit more closely, they follow up. And again, maybe they're just sticking around, whatever, but you look at them in the comments and things like that. And 8, 9 times out of 10, they're dead serious. Like they're dead serious. So for those of
Mhm.
you that, will reach out to us and say, hey man, you're just overreacting. This is just somebody having fun with the group. Like one, it's a terrible way to have fun.
No.
Number two is you have to. I don't know how to tell people to be professional and to have a higher level of professionalism. It seems to be something that you either do or you don't have in this industry. And so, Ray, we're not gonna sit here and debate the hows and the whys of professionalism in the lawn care industry, but some people just need to do fucking better. So, okay.
Yeah.
With that, J Pink,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and queue up. We've got some videos here that were sent in to us, and let's go ahead and fire up. I think we've got what? Yeah. Let's fire these up.
I will be overseeding soon. How do I ensure good seed to soil contact if I will not be top dressing? I will be dethatching and aerating. What you just said, TK. So if you could do something to thin out the turf a bit, so turf raking, a light dethatching, a light scarifying, any of those kind of cultural practices will help thin out the turf a bit, which is going to open up that canopy. When you put the seed down, it's going to expose it to more sunlight, more warmth. It's going to help with germination. So what you're doing there, as far as planning a light dethatching or an aeration, anything to help thin out that canopy, is exactly what you want to do in preparation for an overseeding project.
Okay.
Okay.
Totally buried the lead there about the seed to soil contact, right? Ray,
Mhm.
real quick, and
Yeah.
I'll jump in here at the end, but why? One, he never addressed that. He never talked about it at all. He's talking about light and warmth and everything, which have at the earliest stages no real role. We can germinate
Mhm.
seeds in a refrigerator that's dark and cold, right?
Mhm.
So my question is, what would you do and what would you recommend to somebody that's trying to prepare a lawn and get good seed to soil contact? Help Ron out here.
Okay, first thing I do is scalp off all old foliage down to dirt even, and then I'd run a verticutter to remove debris and stolons from that soil surface, and then I would seed and roll. Because, Ryan, do you know what an adequate verticutting does to the actual soil or area? Do you know what it does? It cuts a lot of closely spaced grooves into the soil itself. And those grooves are places where that seed may fall into. There's a seed to soil contact. And then at that point, it's capable of germinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In other words, when you're trying to establish seed to soil contact, this is not the time or the place to be light or gentle. You actually need to be rather deliberate about what you're doing.
I agree with that. I think that the smoother the surface is, and I'm not talking about like pulverized topsoil. I'm talking about, an established lawn that has either been, scalped, sprayed out, something to that effect, right? And
Mm-hmm.
or just
Mm-hmm.
even overseeding, general overseeding. That
Right.
if you do not abrade, break up, do something like that
The
to
ground, yeah.
get some soil freed up, right? Or get seed into soil, right? So we either
Mm-hmm.
either need to cover it, and when we say cover it, here's the other thing I see people make the mistake of is planting seed too deep, right? So
They bury it.
uh
Yeah, they bury it deep.
Kentucky bluegrass needs to be down like an eighth of an inch. It doesn't need much, maybe a quarter at most. Ryegrass could grow in concrete if you watered it enough, and tall fescue's not far behind that. So I'm not saying that you don't need seed to soil contact, but what I do believe is that we can't gloss over the fact that we need to have seed to soil contact. That's what's going to allow that seed to actually have water next to it, germinate, everything like that. So just answer the question next time. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to the next one with Ron.
Next up is Adam Carter. He says, So I tried to level my new Xeon Zoysia this year. I put the level mix too thick and suffocated a lot of the yard and started turning brown. Will it come back, or do I need to think about resodding? Depends on how heavy you went, Adam. I mean, by your own words, you said you went too thick. If here's what I would say, it's if you can get a leveling rake out there and work the material and get it off the plant, off the grass to where it's not buried or it's not not suffocated anymore, that's going to give your zoysia the opportunity to recover. It's zoysia. I mean, it's not as hardy as Bermuda, but it's also really difficult to kill. Like both zoysia and Bermuda are pretty resilient grasses. So if you can get the sand off the grass to where there's some leaf exposed, you can get some sunlight, it should recover. I don't think you're looking at resodding. Again, I haven't seen pictures of what you did or how heavy it is, but if if it's not sitting under, a couple of inches of sand, then you should be able to recover it. If you can, again, get the leveling rig out there, just move it around, like literally knock it off, try and just move it around to where you can see the grass is exposed, and then just give it time. The thing is, with you having zoysia, it's going to be a slow road to recovery, right? The nice thing about zoysia is that it grows slow. The bad thing about zoysia is that it grows slow. So, yeah, I wouldn't be so quick to look at doing a resod just yet. I'm just saying this based on what my idea of putting down too much leveling mix or going too heavy with top dressing looks like. And I want to take this as a moment to any of you guys that are going to be doing your top dressing this fall. For any of you cool season guys and gals, this is a good this is a good teachable moment. When it comes to top dressing, more is not necessarily better. You will see people that have Bermuda grass, and then you'll see them, they'll like to say they like to do what they call sand capping. They'll sand cap the entire lawn. They'll put tons of sand down to where you literally can't see any grass at all, and just saying Bermuda will grow through it. And that is, for the most part, that is true. Bermuda is, again, not to beat a dead horse, is incredibly difficult to kill, and it will grow through pretty much through anything reasonable that you put it through. But not all grasses are that way. And what I would say is that if you can limit the amount of sand or material that you're putting on the lawn to like 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch on the high end, that's going to produce really good results. Your lawn is going to be a lot smoother. Even if you still have some undulations here and there, a lot of the harsh dips are going to get fixed by doing that. And if you need to, 3-4 weeks later, you can always go out there and put more sand down. But if you go too heavy all in one go, that is when recovery can take a lot longer. If you get any kind of heavy rainfall, which is a big part of why I don't do it, is you'll get a lot of runoff. That's another thing. If you have any kind of a slope and you put a ton of sand down, think about it. One of the things that the functions that your grass does is it helps prevent soil erosion, right? It helps hold the soil in place. So if you put this layer of soil or sand on top of the grass and there's no grass really holding onto it, you get a heavy rain, there's nothing to keep it. It's just literally going to wash off and all end up at the bottom of your lawn, or wherever the lowest part of your lawn is. So for a lot of reasons, it's just not a good idea to go super heavy with your top dressing mix. So for any of you guys that are planning on doing that this fall, again, I'm talking to cool season folks here, just go light. There's no reason to go super heavy, like 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. All you need, I promise your lawn is gonna look really nice. And if you're not happy with it, you can always put more sand down. You can always.
Okay.
Wow.
So, Ray, let's just start with the original question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you top dress the Zoysia even, and to what extent, and how much, and when? Let's start there, and assuming that this person's probably in the southeastern United States.
Okay. I mean, as far my experience with Xeon Zoysia is that you can literally sand cap Xeon Zoysia as long as you do your sand capping in late spring to summer, and immediately after you sand cap, this is like a key point, you must irrigate that sand in so that it is not in fact sitting on top. Because here's what I often see with other people's sanding jobs. They spread the sand. They may work it in with a broom or a rake, and then they put a roller on it. But what I don't see them do is get out the water hose and keep sprinkling it until all of that sand washes through to the crowns of the grass. And so, as a result, because they haven't washed that sand down, all of the sand that they've spread is essentially still sitting on top. Because, Brian, the heaviest sand top dressing I've done to Xeon Zoysia was, in fact, about 2 inches. I did do it. And there were no ill effects from doing that at all. I think the problems that this person is having is basically operator error on a certain level. It's got nothing to do with how much sand he actually applied.
I think it could be that. There's no doubt about it. I think that there's some nuance there that I think needs to be cautioned of people when doing videos. And I think I know that others have shown right that how they do it and everything like that, and kind of given advice and on what they do and how they do it. I'm thinking, like people like Connor, for example. Connor Ward does not do it the way that I would recommend doing it, but he does it in a way that is just basically, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then I'm here to show it to you. That's it. Now with Ron, and there's a product component. I don't know if all that nuance is communicated and shown. And then when you have videos like this, J-Pink, throw that thing up real quick. That was sent in. And when there's comments like that, and there's a video like that, like that's going to cause some people, I think, maybe ready to over apply. So I don't disagree with the fact that it was maybe wasn't done. Who knows how it was done, but also too that just kind of pushing that narrative that hey, more sand, more top dressing. So, and we'll see that more here in a minute. So, J-Pink, let's roll that next video.
He says, Ron, been around since your first live stream. I guess it's been about 4 years. It's 3 years going on year 4. So we're at 3 years now and counting. I've learned a lot and I learned a ton, but I have a question. Why is there a limit on prodiamine, and what happens if you go over it? Thanks. So there's a limit on prodiamine because there's a limit on, like, there's, how's the best way to answer this question? Why is there a limit on prodiamine? There's a limit on prodiamine because too much of the active ingredient can be harmful to the grass, can be harmful to the plant. Much like, you take anything that's helpful for you or me, right? Like take like vitamin C. We need so much vitamin C, and we can, and up to a certain amount, it's helpful. Over, if you go too heavy, it can become toxic. Like water, like, I'm drinking water and lemonade right now. Like, you need a certain amount of water every day. If you drink too much water, if you drink excessive amounts of water, it can actually be bad for you. It can be poison. It can be toxic. So if you exceed the annual limits, what you will, with prodiamine anyway, or with pre-emergent, you can start getting what's called root clubbing, which means that you can, as far as whenever stolons are running and they're trying to tack down, it becomes harder for them to do that. So if you ever see like, it's hard to say, but if you ever see like a lawn with Bermuda grass and the runners, you have like what I call like floppy runners, where they will run out and they just kind of they're sitting on the top of the grass, they won't tack down. That's not necessarily a sign that the person over applied pre-emergent, but that is something you can see if you go excessive with your application rate for prodiamine. The reason why they have annual limits on all these products, I mean, even Primo, pretty much every product, every herbicide, any product you put down, there is an annual limit for plant health, because again, too much can be toxic. For environmental reasons are the reasons why they also will have limits as far as how much of this stuff they want in the soil. They don't want it building up, and then to help minimize runoff and that type of thing. So there's a lot of reasons, mostly having to do with the health of the plant, and also environmental concerns, why you need to stay within annual limits. And the thing is, what you'll find, Kevin, is if you go over it, you're not going to get a better result. I mean, if you think about it, let's just do this thought experiment. Like, whoever makes, let's take like Barricade, right, which is prodiamine by Syngenta. Like, Syngenta's in business to sell products, right? Like they'll engineer the products, they'll make them, and they package them up and they sell them. So it's in their best interest to sell a whole lot of products, right? So if they tell you that, hey, with someone who is motivated to sell a product, but still they say, with our product, with our blend of this, you will only want to use this application rate, do not exceed this amount per year. you really want to heed that because they have a vested interest in you buying as much of it as possible, but yet they're still putting limits in there based on EPA guidelines and also their testing as far as what's effective and what then becomes point of diminishing returns, then moving over into damage. So it's just in your best interest to heed that. Like you're not gonna. I'm trying to think of any situation where consciously and regularly exceeding the recommended application rate limits really leads to a good result. I can't think of any. When it comes to fertilizer, there's people that'll say, oh, I want to really push growth and I want to get out there and put down 2 pounds of nitrogen. And what tends to happen is, yeah, you push a lot of growth, but then you also create thatch problems in your lawn. You increase the likelihood that you're going to have disease problems. You know what I mean? If you go use Primo, if you use the amount on the label, the recommended amounts on the label, you're going to get great control, great regulation. The lawn is going to have a nice green color with less mowing. But if you go too much, you're going to discolor the lawn. You get negative effects, right? And that is true for.
Okay. Wow. I thought he was first. He was saying you could do 2 pounds and then you could just apply Primo and it'll all balance itself out. Wow.
It'll all go away. Yeah,
he didn't. Let's get back and answer let's answer the real question here, Ray, because sometimes we'll have people that do split apps. They'll do different things. Why are there annual limits, right? And I don't think that Ron was very well versed in the negative effects, right, of not necessarily over application, but coming up and towing to the line or perhaps going over it. So in higher rate situations, what are some of the negative effects? And then also, again, why do we have label limits on pre-emergence, specifically dinitroanilines like prodiamine or dithiopyr or pendimethalin?
Okay. Yeah. He actually kind of got it almost right in that various grasses will show a root pruning effect. However, the overriding concern as to why there's limits on dinitroaniline herbicides is specifically due to the issues of environmental persistence and off-target effects and the product or chemical being in places where it should not be. Because here's some inside baseball, Ryan. Did you know that a lot of herbicides, specifically or especially, are literally tested at up to 2 to 4 times their proposed label rates? And yeah. And so someone could conceivably apply more. However, they may not cause ill effects to the grass. However, what the issue becomes is the EPA has decided how much of a given active ingredient they even want out in the environment. They've made that decision.
And with good reason, too.
And with good reason, yes. Yeah.
And it's, again, it's not just one group that's overusing this stuff. It's not just one thing. So I'm glad that he at least addressed the question, talked a little bit about, root pruning effects. And it's not just on runners and, the ability for stoloniferous grasses to tack down necessarily, right? Like there is also effects on parent plants essentially of what's sending out daughter plants for stolons and things like that, right? So for any of the propagation that we see, those net effects also can happen to the parent plant, and we can see clubbing of roots, and we can see negative effects on rooting. So again, there's label limits for a reason, because they're set by the government and they're set by manufacturers that are making those recommendations based on the safety, not only of the product, but also safety in the environment of people being dipshits, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one here real quick.
Do I need to apply a fungicide or insecticide for my turf top tall fescue lawn? Looks great, but not sure what's needed. So the fungicide, I would say no. I mean, unless you have something going on in the lawn, I wouldn't say fungicide. there are people that like to do 2 applications of insecticide throughout the year. So the insecticide that I use on my lawn, Jonathan, is a product called Acelepryn. I apply this typically once per year, which is in late March, early April timeframe. But I'm the minority in that. Most people that use this will apply it around the time when I do it, again, like April timeframe, and they'll also apply it again in July, late July, early August timeframe for armyworm control. So if if there were anything you were going to do, I would say Acelepryn. I would say Acelepryn out of those 2 is what I would say to go with. The unless you've got a disease problem in your lawn, I wouldn't go out and put a fungicide down. You know what I mean? There's just no reason to put that. I mean, one, it's expensive, and then second, if you don't need it, why use it, right? There's that. And if you're looking to where you can get Acelepryn, we've got a couple different options for it. If you go to
Pause.
shop.
Okay.
Damn. Already.
That
Ryan.
that didn't take long. But wait, there's more. So this is a question here where I think context matters, and choosing where to get your information and what information is offered and what the end result of that information is, right? In which case here, clearly to sell a product and probably oversell it too. So first, let's talk about turf type tall fescue, right? Any number of locations that gentleman could have been located in: northeastern United States, Midwest, transition zone, mid-South Carolina, something like that. That would have very much determined whether, I think, Ray, Matt, or myself would have recommended that he preventatively apply a fungicide or things to watch out for and fungicides to have on hand. So I think that was a little bit off-putting on that sense. But Ray, the thing that threw me for a absolute loop on this clip is the fact that Ron is in the minority of only making one application of Acelepryn to control surface feeding insects, grubs, and then armyworms on the back end of his season.
Wow.
I think in the highest of high-end situations, you might, maybe, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna guess that there may be 10% of Acelepryn users that are purposely making 2 applications a year. In a very specific climate, very specific part of the country. I think across the board, again, in areas where turf type tall fescue is a predominant turf or one that would be asked about, I would have no reservations whatsoever about saying that you need to make that application once a year. And to say that it needs to be done twice a year is just crazy. And the reason I say that is that if you are if you are in an area where you're growing turf type tall fescue and there is the threat of armyworms, my recommendation would be is to go a little bit later than that March, April time. You can go all the way up until May, Mother's Day, maybe something like that, and go with the high rate, right? So the high rate on Acelepryn is going to be, you're using the liquid product, 16 fluid ounces to the acre, right? I don't know offhand what Acelepryn G is. If you're going to buy one of the fertilizers with Acelepryn impregnated on it, that's going to be 300 pounds per acre on whatever product you're throwing. It's going to be a 0.067% Acelepryn load on that, right? So that's the highest rate that you can go. And you're going to catch armyworms just fine at that high rate. So this one was just real salesy and not, again, losing all the nuance and missing all that. And then, I don't know. I had a really grotesque analogy. I wasn't going to go. I'm not going to go there.
No, Ryan, I was just cringing at the thought of telling somebody to apply Acelepryn twice, knowing the systemic and soil residual products of the chlorantraniliprole. I mean, I was just thinking, now, why would I need to put down something twice in 1 year when its soil half-life is literally, over 300 days? I mean, why would you
more
need
than that?
to...
972 days is the half-life of chlorantraniliprole in soil.
972. Well, that's why Hawaii Department of Health has such a hard-on for chlorantraniliprole. I mean, that's why.
Now I'm picturing some guy in Honolulu looking at the label and just got his shorts tight. That's just
No, actually, the chlorantraniliprole banner is actually a woman, and I met her.
Oh,
Okay,
is her
and I
name
met.
Sheila too?
And no, unfortunately, if it was Sheila, I'd have some wiggle room. But
Maybe a
in
lot more
any
than some
case,
others.
yeah. But in any case, Escitalopram twice a year, Ryan. I cannot think of an instance where something like that would be even indicated. Because tell me honestly, Ryan, in all of your years applying Escitalopram, have you ever had to make a late season rescue application of Escitalopram to a lawn or turf area that has been treated with an adequate rate of Escitalopram earlier in spring? Have you ever had to do it?
No, and actually, while I'm thinking about this, I will fish out a picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting, and actually is tall fescue. If you'll bear with me a moment. Now,
Okay.
let me ask you while I'm doing that, Ray. Let me ask you a
Mm-hmm.
question: um, is there a strategy for armyworms specifically? Like, if you know that you have surface feeders, all the things that a Accelerant hits, is there any other
Mm-hmm.
better treatment strategy in your mind if you're worried about all those things and armyworms? If you were in a state that didn't have any restrictions on diamide insecticides, where would you be on this whole issue as far as insect control and season long and trying to get the best value for each app?
Well, what I would probably do is I'd probably time my Accelerant application a little bit later in the year, of course, and I'd always tend to go towards the higher allowed label rates because to me, saving money on my spring grub control turns into false economy because if you have to do a rescue application later in the year because you cheaped out on your spring insect control, that's like false economy. Because do you know what my standard rescue application is for something like fall armyworm?
Tell me.
It's Dilox plus either Arena or imidacloprid.
Oh, wait.
Applied at
Okay.
very high volume. I'm not talking about third of a gallon per 1,000 square foot through the permagreen. I'm talking about 5 to 10 gallon per 1,000 through the Trident.
There's throwing the hammer down, ladies and gentlemen, and then there's throwing the whole goddamn wrecking ball down. All right, J Pink, throw this photo up here real quick, and let's take a look at this. Ray, I want to show you. This is the great armyworm outbreak of 2021, and what you're looking at here is the hillside. Pan over and up, man. Look at that. Okay, so the
What's the
foreground.
story here?
Foreground is treated with Accelerant, probably like late. I don't have the exact date, but late April, very early May. So last week of April, first week of May, sometime like that. At the lower rate, 8 fluid ounces, right? So that's the low rate, and
Low end, yes.
the hillside untreated, and you can
Didn't
see what
get
happened
any.
with armyworms. So again, did I make a second
Wow.
application in midsummer to pick up those armyworms and smash them to bits? No, I didn't. It's one app.
You didn't have to. Yeah, not needed.
Chemistry.
So chemistry. I mean, chemistry is a lovely thing because the only thing I can think of with this level of longevity would be all of the pre-1970 insecticides. Okay, that's the only thing I can think of. No, this is the only thing I can think of that would be able to keep out armyworm from that long ago. And I'm thinking specifically all of the what they call chlorinated cyclodine insecticides.
The real
Chloridane, dieldrin, aldrin, heptachlor, that kind of stuff.
All right, we are going to move on to the third part of this episode, in which we have just our patrons and our members here that are recording live with us. And again, we record live every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And our patrons and members are invited to join us, ask questions. They get to name the show after it's done. So all those kooky and fun-loving names that you see, some a little bit more risque than others, are all generated by our members and patrons. So after the show, we get together on our private Discord server. We get to kind of pick through names, vote on who has the best ones, and usually there's anywhere from, I don't know, Ray, 30 to 90 submissions during the recording period. So it's usually a pretty competitive event. People take it very seriously, which is good. And if you want to be a part of that, and also a part of our Thirsty Thursday and our meetups that we're doing here coming up, gosh, Ray, what is it? It's about 7 or 8 weeks, something like that, in beautiful Louisville, Kentucky. We are currently sold out now. We are taking waitlist participants, though. So if you want to get in on that and more, www.patreon.com/burn and return. For the low price of $4, $10, even $20, you can join up with us, hang out, and enjoy turf with other like-minded snobs, crazies. I don't know what the correct word is, but oh wait, Spencer, what are we again?
You are a fucking pussy.
Yes, sir, we are. All right, let's dive into that. These questions here. I'm gonna slide back over here, and we're starting off here with David Clausen. So we're taking questions. Our members tend to be a little bit more on the higher end side of knowledge and expectations and things like that, and not to diss our normal participants on Thirsty Thursday or any of our other shows that we do. But we're taking a little bit more advanced questions here tonight, some ones that with a little more nuance. So let's see what we got. David Clausen writes in, any tips on how to maximize Kentucky bluegrass germination and coverage during the fall renovation in Long Island, New York? Burned off 12,000 square feet of TTF with Soul Stealer, layered a 6 mil tarp, lifting the tarp in 2 weeks, then leveling, compacting, Tenacity, Quinclorac, Fert, Seed, Ryan Normix, Leif, F4, Futura, Netless blanket, then water. Anything missing? David, that has got to be one of the most complete, just thorough preparations and just follow throughs, hopefully, as far as a renovation of a cool season lawn. I mean, I don't know that there's any more that you can do other than execute properly each one of those steps. I think that F4 netless blanket will be clutch. I just think you also need to think about too, the grass will grow up through that. You're going to have to mow through some of that because the grass has a tendency to push that stuff up a little bit. So no matter, your mower will chop it up. It'll be fine. You just need to go ahead and collect it when it does that. But just be prepared that will probably happen, and try to set your mower up as high as it can go and work your way down as you start your growing and your maintenance. So, Ray, anything to add on David's outstandingly thorough prep?
No, I mean, guys, this is an example of prep for renovation as it should be, because the backstory of this is, what does recurrent weeds and POA mean to you, Ryan?
Nothing good. And I think
nothing
that's
good.
The thing is that that's why you need to take it all the way. So, Ray, just talk a little bit about, like, from the prep and planning standpoint, some of the things that you have to go back in and fix, I would suspect more often than not are the result of poor planning, and more specifically poor execution during the renovation period, and how critically important. I know we stress it, we nerd out about it, everything like that, but just how critically important that is, so that you don't find yourself in a failure.
Well, I mean, my number one point of failure would be failure to kill off undesirable vegetation. So, David here, he elected to apply Soul Stealer, not just glyphosate by itself. And his reason for that decision was based on the fact that he has got more than just unwanted turf type tall fescue to get rid of. There's contamination by POA, for example, and maybe even POA trivialis, maybe even quackgrass underneath there. all number of things that would cause the renovation to be less than successful. So I think failure to get rid of what you don't want in the first place is a big point of failure. And next point of failure is not ensuring that your seed or whatever you elect to plant is in a position to germinate and grow in uniformly. And to that end, I know David is elected to use the seed blanket. Good move. Because other backstory to this is that David is going to be renovating over a half an acre. Not a little bit,
right. And this is your one chance to get it right. So, and people will so often eschew all those, little things that end up being a big thing in the long run and kick themselves after as to why, oh, this didn't work or especially at that scale, like, but you got to take your best shot because it's not like you're going to be like, well, didn't work out. We'll do it again.
Yeah. And you see, the reason why I know I harp on it is I always remember that a couple thousand square feet of turf area to me, market value in my region is literally $10,000 or more. It's not small money on the line, right? And likewise, if somebody is dealing with a big area like a quarter acre or more, what I always tell people is any kind of problems, issues, fuck ups, or inadequacies are multiplied. So you can have a small mistake and a small problem, or else you can have a big mistake and a big problem. So this is all the, why I totally appreciate the thoroughness and care that David is putting into this. I appreciate it a lot.
Very much so. I'm excited about it. All right, Brent, Western Mass Turf, question for cool season. Turf type tall fescue should be sowed in August, KBG in late August, early September, PRG in September for Western Mass, considering the weather. So I think that's a question. Are those all good? I have no problem with tall fescue going into September. Bluegrass, I'd rather see start about that time, late August, no later than early September. And ryegrass, anytime that your soil temperatures are above 50 and you've got about 14 days to get it up, like, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
my recommendation there, Brent. So, watch those soil temperatures, and that's 50 degrees at a 2-inch depth. That's sort of the critical number for all these seeds, but particularly ryegrass. It's going to be the one that germinates at the lowest temperature and grows and continues to establish at that lower temperature threshold. So just think about that and keep it in mind. All right, wood chopper. Using sulfentrazone for cool season grass, yellow nut sedge prevention, would that be put down at the same time as other pre-emergents like prodiamine as the ground temp nears 55? Ray, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, funny you should mention Brent, because both Brent and Lushy, for example, they plan on applying sulfentrazone as split applications at the same time that their pre-emergents are going down, specifically to manage sedge infestation. So, they are hammering down on sulfentrazone in the spring, same time that they're applying prodiamine. And from what they've told me, that has been the game changer for them, because they do their sulfentrazone applications in the spring. For the customers that have received that application, they are no longer chasing around nutsedge emergence during summer. I mean, their summer is relatively less stressful, although I don't know how it is this year, because they have a different problem where it won't stop raining in the Northeast, and They literally have lawns underwater.
Yeah,
Sulfentrazone won't help you there. I mean,
no, I was gonna say.
no
I mean,
help there. Sorry.
I just hope for them that they have a normal fall up there, that one that they can either get some timely rains or control water or whatever. Because yeah, it's been a tough summer up there. Turf losses for biotic, excuse me, and abiotic reasons, and uh, through no fault of any applicator or anything up there. It's been an incredibly tough summer up there for a variety of reasons. So, Chuck Benzing is offering some help here to Dave and wanted to get some feedback from us. Do you think Echelon, which is prodiamine and sulfentrazone, do you think that would help David come next spring? I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world, but I
No.
also think too that see where that Kentucky bluegrass is at. I'm a strong proponent of no pre-emergent that following spring, and spraying out any post, because mostly what you're going to face is going to be summer annual, weedy grasses, things like that, not so much POA. I would try to get back on the prodiamine or dithiopyr train in the fall of next year, so the fall of 24, to get that right. So that all being said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Ray.
And
How do you feel? I know you've never done a fall reno and had to control, grassy weeds and put down a pre-emergent in the spring, but just from your knowledge
Well,
and
here's what I've
information
heard
gathering. Okay.
From both Lushy and Brent, and what they've told me is avoid that kind of intense pre-emergent on fall seedings. They tell me that if you decide to apply that level of pre-emergent control on a fall seeding, expect to be personals next to the deli slicer scared that spring, because this pre-emergent is literally too much for grass that is that young. So I would suggest holding a sulfentrazone and prodiamine tank mix till the following spring, and just deal with any weeds that come up in the following spring and summer post-emergently. And by the way, I think we have very good options for doing that these days, because what is tolerated by recently seeded grasses includes quinclorac and mesotrione. And when you apply those products as a broadcast application, they become a pre-emergent. So it's not like you are totally without any kind of pre-emergent protection. It's just that I would have to advise holding your traditional prodiamine sulfentrazone until the following year to ensure safety to the desired turf grass.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is an email. Oh, wow. Okay. Here's another one here. So Chris says, appreciate all you guys do. Best damn show on the interwebs. Well, thank you, Chris. Bulgaria thinks highly of us too. Number 6 over there right now on YouTube. So we love you, Bulgaria. Been following Matt since he was doing the whiteboard videos and working out of his truck. Thoroughly enjoy Ray. He's a sharp dude. Superior knowledge there. That's not all, Chris. Let me tell you what. Ryan is awesome. Does a great job. Keeps it 100. All right. So he says, I'm 48 years of age, been in the auto collision industry since 1992. Opened up my own shop in 2006. Still in business, and things are going well there despite all the craps and parts delays since 2020. Family-run business with the wife and 2 sons. I'm at a point now where I'm able to free up some time during the day, and I'm looking at a local commercial account for a lawn renovation. This is where I could use some help. I have pretty much all the equipment to do the job. I'm looking forward to the challenge, but uncertain of the billing side for this project. Thank you. Hashtag don't want to be on Joe Knows Turf. LOL.
Oh,
well,
yikes!
You set the bar low so that you can, carefully and very intentionally raise your level of expectations. I know that there's a number of folks that have branched out and people within our community. I think of Brandon at Turf Culture. I think of I mean, hell, Cam, you could take Cam Elevated Landscapes. He just did a show tonight, and so there's people that have sort of branched out on their own to do some things um, on the side, if you will. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the things to think about is one, if you have the equipment, that's great. Not having to rent anything is a huge piece of it. Just like we talked about with J Farm, with all these other folks, is risk mitigation. Everything that you can do to mitigate that risk, control quality, and make sure that things are followed up on. Because there's a certain part of a renovation where you do all the work, you get up to a certain point, and now really at the critical point, you finish the renovation and get the seed in the ground. That's not the finish line; that's the starting line. In my book.
That's the beginning.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So in that sense, right, you have to make sure that after that point, that expectations are very clear as to what should happen. What happens if those things don't happen, right? How are you going to fix them? Is that included in the cost? Is that extra money? How is that going to go get worked out? And I think there you have to be crystal fucking clear on what needs to happen, how it's going to go down, uh, and what you do if that doesn't happen. I think how you get paid. I know, like Lushy, for example, the minute he rolls off your property, he's set the expectation that you're going to water it, you're going to take care of it. I'll come back and do some fertilizer applications, do what I got to do. I'll monitor it, right? But it's up to them to water, and he sends them a bill immediately, right? So I think that's probably the safest way. I don't think that they should pay for results unless you're going to charge a price in which you're going to be back there often, checking on things, adjusting things, like really, really kind of managing the grow in. I think you can do it a couple different ways. If this is only one renovation that you're doing, you might try that and try to learn a little bit from it and charge them maybe just a little bit more for your time and going out there and managing it. And that might help you later on down the road kind of streamline your process and not have to be there so much, right? And give people some better recommendations because, when you do it at your house and you gain confidence and everything like that, it's easy to, kind of, I don't want to say become complacent, but you don't see the other challenges that might happen on other sites or foresee those things, right? So being up close and personal with it, going through that process, going through that journey could definitely help. And if you don't, and if you're comfortable enough, you can offer them and just say, hey, there's one price and I'm going to be here. I'm going to manage you through it. You're going to pay me half or 2/3 up front, after I get the job done. And then the other third upon, you accepting it, something like that. Right. And if you're really comfortable with it, and you think you got it all worked out and you know what's going to happen, just say, hey, here's another price of me. Just do it and walk away. You know, uh, I'm not sure that I would offer that just yet. I think maybe in the future, if you do more of these, that's a pricing strategy that you can employ, at least as you stay small and you're able to kind of bounce around and look at different lawns and things like that and offer a higher level of service. And maybe that's just the way you do it. Maybe that's, you enjoy being a part of that process, not just the prep and the seeding and the install process, but you enjoy the growing process that much more. That's a differentiator, right? A lot of people, a lot of companies won't do that. And so if you target the right clients, you might be able to command higher fees, higher pricing, and be able to go with it that way. But from a simple prep standpoint and pricing that, I think you need to figure out what your direct costs are, right, for the equipment, how much it's going to take to operate, how many hours, things like that it's going to take you to do it. So you've got your labor figured out, you've got your equipment costs figured out. If you need to build this much per hour of use on this piece of equipment, so on and so forth. Figure out your fuel, depreciation on the equipment, repair and maintenance costs, things like that, and come up with a per hour price so that you can do it that way. And then finally is your overhead cost, right? Which at this point, if it's just your first one, your overhead cost should be very, very, very minimal, right? So insurance, taxes, marketing, whatever, right? All that stuff gets dumped into that bucket. And then last, there's obviously a profit involved. I think the profit on this should be indicative or closely match what the risk is, right? So if you are going to put more time into it and ensure some type of result that comes along with it, then the profit, and the risk associated with that should be higher, right? If you're simply going to do the work and kind of turn them loose and get to that starting line and then fire off the starting pistol and let them run, then that's a whole different pricing strategy from a risk standpoint, right, on your profit. So that's my long-winded answer. Ray, what do you got?
I think you largely covered it, Ryan. And that is where I suggest that somebody pick a lane, pick where they want to be, and go with it. However, here's where I have a little bit of a concern.
Okay.
he already has a business running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here's what my concern is. I've come to realize that turf management, lawn care, landscaping, renovations, etc., they really need to be someone's almost full-time job
I can attest to
because
that.
because divided attention is not being there when you need to be there and then things go sideways.
And I think that's the thing,
So,
is like anticipating what those things might be, those things that are outside your control. And
mhm,
even if there is a guaranteed result, making sure that those expectations are communicated extremely clearly in writing, verbally, with context up front.
mhm,
Because if those things do happen and they're outside your control, even under your management, what are you to do?
right,
Right? Does that mean you eat
right,
shit
right.
and you fix it all, or what? So,
Yep.
I think that's a really important point for sure.
Totally.
Uh-oh. All right. Last question that we're going to take here from Chuck. Chuck wants to know an ornamental question. I'm way out of my league, Chuck, so I'm going to have to pass this one off to Ray. I deal with monocots
Mhm,
only. Let's see
mhm.
here. Magnolia scale has reappeared after being absent for 10 years or so. I blame the irrigation, but is an IGR or other remedy something I should look into? Ray, completely you. I have no clue on this.
Okay. Normally on scale insects on shrubs and ornamentals, I tend to lean very heavily into one, a systemic insecticide right now to prevent it for the next year, and two, if I want to make some kind of a application, I'm a big fan of a winter horticultural oil application or reactively even a spring horticultural application in conjunction with that systemic insecticide application.
Mm-hmm.
An IGR is normally used under circumstances where you have extremely high pest pressure and you have very low tolerance for, you know, pest damage or pest breakthrough. I mean, but then to keep it simple, Chuck, this is where a soil application of imidacloprid is simple, safe, and effective. I mean, that's kind of my go-to actually. And by the way, if you apply imidacloprid in the fall, that application will literally carry over into next year. That's how long it lasts in shrubs and trees.
There you go.
So that's yeah, that's
All
a
new to me.
simple way to do it. And for goodness sake, please do not spray the imidacloprid on the foliage or upper plant parts.
Yes.
Don't do it. Please don't. In fact, Ryan, you know
Mhm.
what I think would have saved the reputation of the neonicotinoids?
More diesel fuel.
Yeah. Or if the labeling were written prohibiting foliar applications, period.
Yeah, I think that's the troubling part about some of this stuff, is that, I don't know. Like, I think about, off-target effects, and certainly, they're different on neonics than, perceived to be different on neonics than what we see with other things. But I think of a product like Imprellis, right, that was
Mhm.
rushed seemingly to
Hurried.
market, right? And had it
Yes,
been
yes.
labeled correctly, would still be a viable product in the turf market and do an incredibly good job, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and not an insecticide, but same premise here of labeling requirements and learning what we need to know and putting it on there and teaching people that. I think that's something that, um, there needs to be a little bit more thought behind that, number one, and a little bit more effort, I think, too, of teaching people the correct way to do some of these things. And I guess that's what we're here for, Ray, to do our little part,
Yeah.
our little tiny part.
Yeah, we try to do our best, and I think what makes it a little easier is that I'm a poor lawn and irrigation professional with no affiliate links. Okay, nothing I suggest that people do has an affiliate link associated with it.
You are a
None.
fucking pussy.
That's right. Dumb
I
sense.
am. I am. I will own that one.
Hey, I don't hate you for it. Fine by me. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all the questions that we have. So yeah,
Mhm.
all right. So we're gonna wrap it here. First, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us a little bit different on our burn and return episode here tonight. We'll get back into articles here and everything soon. It has been a absolutely meat grinder of a fucking summer. By meat and grinder, I mean like absolutely putting your dick in the hamburger grinder, and it's been tough. It's been tough.
Yeah.
But we're getting there, and fall is around the corner here. It's Labor Day weekend next week, right? I can't believe that. For those of us in cool season country, it's time to take a little deep breath, get some renovation work done, and look forward to what will be hopefully putting our mowers away and taking a little bit of a deeper breather. I can't wait for that. But there's still much work to be done, and you got to stay vigilant, and you can't listen to some of the BS you see on YouTube. So keep that in mind. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you all on the next one. Oli, how's that smell again?
I like the smell.
Me too.
Definitely hit the wrong button there.
Oh, can we real quick? We were gonna do this. Go ahead and throw the picture up, J Pink, and then we'll play the audio. We're gonna clip this audio out, and we'll save the picture. We'll let
I didn't get my homework.
We'll just play it like live. Just play it from the clip on the YouTube or whatever if you want, and we'll have this all clipped up. LW50 or somebody in the community will take care of this picture for us somehow. I'm sure. Timmy Bluegrass, maybe.
All right, next up we have James Smith. Actually, it's not for James Smith. It is for... Actually, it is James Smith. He says, Ron, are you adding surfactant to your spectacle flow next weekend? No, I am not. I'm not using spectacle. I'm not using surfactant with it. Because actually, it's not for James Smith. It is for... All right, next up we have back and forth. That would be easy. That helps. If you have a friend to where you guys can swap off and have, go back and forth, that would be easier. But I mean, that video, if you have a friend to where you guys can swap off and have, go back and forth, that would be easier. But I mean, that video is going to help you, is going to give you tips on how to get a back and forth. That would be, hopefully that helps. If you have a friend to where you guys can swap off and have, go back and forth, that would be easier. But I mean, that video is, if you have a friend to where you guys can swap off and have, go back and forth, that would be easier. But
folks, I can't help it. I don't even try. All I do is just say, hey, hit that timestamp. And we're good.
And what is up? And what is up with Ron Henry and his Filipino slave again? What is that about?
I just clipped that photo out because I wanted it. I needed something. I needed visual to match the audio. I just heard that again for whatever reason. I hear these random things and they just like light up, like the heaven shine down on those sound clips, and I have to tell JP to clip them out. He's like, "Fuck God." Man, it's fucking sound clips. All right, what do we got here for show titles?
I like the smell.
I like the smell. Steamy.
See how steamy it is?
None of them get old either.
We've got, for show titles, we've got Clean Balls, Cool Season Balls, Nighttime Lows, Showcase Showdown, Barker Sprays Lexicon, Full Service at the Daycare, No Need to Leave Your Car.
It'd be actually funnier if it was Lexicon, because I'm sure there was some chick named Lexi that Bob Barker slept with at some point.
Yep. You know it.
Diesel
I mean,
kills all them goddamn weeds. Diesel fuel in daycares. Unlicensed professionals. Kerosene in kids, MSMA and minors. Telly puts seed on soiled areas. Ew. How much a Celiprin can you afford?
That's a
Good lord. I got Clothrant. Oh, I can't say it.
Chloranthropyl.
Yeah, from some gal years ago. I'm a like-minded snob. These pussies have no affiliate links. So
I wish that could be
soft
the show
swap
title.
lawn care. This is the beginning, but it sounds like some balls need to be. I do like how much a Celiprin can you afford?
I like that one too.
I like that one a lot. I mean, that is just yeah, that has my seal of approval.
I think we got a winner.
Yeah.
Celiprin Ron Henry 2X. The price is right.
Eh.
Rest in peace, Bob.
How much? See, I'm glad somebody got that. That was my. I tried to give a little subtle nod to Bob there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of prices right. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit. Well, we got a show title. I think we're good. And is Ben Sims on this Thursday for real?
No, that was a hopeful date. It
Okay.
it didn't happen.
Okay.
Did not happen. Okay.
We'll see if we can get a guest. We'll see if we can. We need a guest. I haven't had a guest in a while. See if we can find somebody.
Yeah.
We had
I'll
a
work on
couple. We had a couple bail out. So
Mm-hmm.
schedule changes and stuff. People, this is
No.
it's weird. It's like this is a busy time of year for people.
Sure.
Something
it
like
is.
that.
It's Reno season for the pool season guys, and of course it's totally hold your butt time for the swarm season people.
Jesus.
All right,
Is that
y'all.
now? All right, my boys. We'll see you
Okay.
Thursday.
later.
Later.
Taters.
Later, guys.
Mhm. Bye.